harder a second time.
In wandering around that little stage, it was very clear that Trump was stalking me. He was sending a message to people watching, look, I am the big person on the stage. This is what a president looks like.
So we're going to get to all of that with Hillary Clinton, and we've got Geraldo Rivera, our close friend, coming in.
Good morning,
and we're going to
Geraldo.
talk about all of that, Geraldo. But just crossing on the AP wire is that North Korean media, state media, is now reporting that Kim Jong-un is basically ordering that they destruct a missile test site in May.
They're dismantling the nuclear test site the end of May. I believe it's May 20-something. What is the exact? The 23rd to the 25th of May. Geraldo, this is big news. Of course, it's coming before that big sit-down between President Trump and Kim Jong-un in Singapore on June 12th. Your thoughts just off the top here on that.
You know, Abby, I think that this is another very positive sign. You know, usually when you're in negotiations, you withhold your gives, you withhold your concessions until you get something from the other side. Here's the North Korean leader apparently giving up something very, very profoundly important to, to his whole philosophy, to the way he has governed, the way his dad and granddad governed before him. This is, I think, a very promising sign. It is pretty clear now that whatever Secretary Pompeo said, then CIA Director Pompeo said to Kim during their clandestine meeting must have resonated in a very positive way. Here is North Korea agreeing to dismantle the weapons systems that panicked the entire Western world in anticipation of the meeting in Singapore coming up in June. So I think that this is a very, very positive development.
Geraldo, we'll reiterate, it was North Korean state television that reported that. Obviously, you got to mistrust and verify with North Korea, so we'll wait to see if that actually occurs. But as you said, a good development up front. But Hillary Clinton, as you heard in the sound that we played coming into this segment, said that our pulling out of the Iranian nuclear deal makes it harder to successfully negotiate with North Korea. Other people say it's the other way around. What do you think?
Well, it's difficult to say. Proof tends to be in the pudding there, Pete. It really does appear as if North Korea is very optimistic about these talks. They are going forward in a very positive way. Now, whether or not the Iran situation reverberates in the North Korean negotiation, I just don't know. It does not appear, at least yet, to have been an obstacle toward what seems a trajectory that is very, very positive. Now, pulling out of the Iran deal, I personally didn't like that. I think that what I would prefer is that President Trump, a great negotiator, kept it in place and then in secret negotiated the end of the sunset clause, added a ballistic missile provision and more rigorous inspections of the military sites and so forth. But, who knows? Trump got us this far in the North Korean situation, and everyone thought that was the most intractable, dilemma on earth. So who knows? His style, the fire and fury stuff, mobilizing the 7th Fleet and sending all these aircraft carriers to the Korean Peninsula. I mean, maybe all I know is that what I see seems very positive to me.
But Geraldo,
I think that the atomic clock has ticked back a couple of minutes.
Just quickly, what happened, though, to partisanship staying at the water's edge, right? You have this going on with Hillary Clinton over in Australia, talking about the Iran deal, undermining the president. But at the same time, you've got John Kerry, the former Secretary of State, doing the same thing, meeting with Iranian officials. What does it say about where we are as a nation that you can travel abroad and you're not Americans first and foremost? You're partisan.
Well, what Secretary Kerry did seemed to me to be an ego trip. He was not, as history will recount, our most effective Secretary of State. For him now, and he was always hanging around with Kislyak or whoever the top foreign emissary was. A very elegant man, John Kerry. I've known him for many, many years. I don't like what he was doing. He did seem to be promoting a secondary agenda when it came to Iran and trying to save a deal which apparently his ego was attached to. Again, even though I am in favor of keeping the deal, I did not like to have a shadow Secretary of State. I think European governments do that. They have shadow governments with the opposition. This is the guy who would be Secretary of State if that party was in power. The United States does not do that. I prefer the old way.
Yeah.
I prefer, Abby, that tradition that political partisanship and division and divisive rhetoric remains on our shores. It's bad enough when we keep it home.
Right.
Yeah, good
Well
point.
said.
Well, we want to point out a new poll from FAIR that reports that half of all Americans in this country today live in an area that supports some form of a sanctuary city policy. Now, is this I mean, this is a trend that's developed, and someone dug into it's looks like it's 564 cities in 2018. Is this a trend? And we'll put the numbers on the screen in a second. It was 11 in 2000, 40 in 2009, 338 in 2016, and now 564 sanctuary cities. What does this trend say to you? Are lawmakers more and more willing to flaunt the law?
I think that what it says to me is that sanctuary cities specifically, but the immigration issue, the undocumented or illegal immigration issue generally, is the fault line in American politics. This will be the biggest issue in November, just as it is the biggest issue in European elections, in Brexit. It is what everybody has on their mind. And I think that the fact that sanctuary cities, and California and New York being sanctuary states, are half and half in this country, I think that is an accurate reflection. This is it. Democrats are in favor of loosened immigration regulation. Republicans are in favor of the wall and tightened immigration regulation. President Trump perceives that. This is the gap, the chasm that the railroad train of partisanship will run through, and you pick your team.
All right.
It's a great point.
Geraldo Rivera, thanks for coming in. Check out his new book. Don't forget.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Geraldo. Good to see you.
Stormy Daniels' lawyer has been given a tremendous amount of airtime to bash the president. But our next guest wants to know, where's he getting all his money? Who's funding this?
And Bass Pro and Cabela's are here. We have a kayak pool out on our plaza, Ed and Pete. Oh, yes, they will be racing each other.
Gotta get ready. Gotta get out there.
That's just moments ahead. You want to stay with us, I promise.
Loving every day. That's the prayer that a country boy prays. Thank God.